some huge steps recently in terms of the goals he scored and the impact and that confidence and that belief that he's playing with now is great to see, and we obviously got to manage that as well, and we got some good forwards, so it's one of those decisions that we got to try and get right, but I've got no problem with Ben, and he hasn't got an issue. He obviously wants to play, but I can't speak highly enough of how he's been and the work he's putting in and his attitude to come on and do what he's done again. I thought he's finished just with so much confidence and belief and ruthless finish, which kind of sums up where he's at the minute, which is great to see.
Dan and then Rob.
Hi, Michael. Similarly with Matheus Cunha, I just wonder what it's been like getting to know him over the last few weeks, because he didn't start the first few games in charge, but his contribution for the goal plus his defensive shift, which his teammates seem to really appreciate, must be really pleasing as well. Yeah,
delighted. I think that was kind of where we were tonight. I think we had to put a lot into the game, and everyone did, and I think credit to Everton, they made us dig deep, and it wasn't the prettiest or the most perfect game football-wise for us, but I think, like you say, Matheus, the defensive work you put in, the effort, the work rate, in the end, his moment that we know we've got in the group to create something made the difference for us. But it comes from him defending really well in a deep position to then create that transition, So he's a great character, Matheus. Obviously got to know him, and again, I keep saying it, but we've not been together that long, really. So sometimes when you get frustrated with things that you see for the team, I mean, not as an individual, but you kind of got to take a deep breath and think, we're trying to put things in place. The players are still learning. They're getting to know me. I'm getting to know them. So another big moment for Matheus. He's had a number of them since the very starting at City when he came off the bench, and he's had a big impact again today for us, and he's in a good place as well.
I know you'll be looking at it game to game, but in the wider context, how much belief do you think the team can take on a weekend where teams around you drop points? Maybe earlier in the season they weren't taking those opportunities, but that must really help while you try and chase a Champions League place.
Yeah, and it takes a lot of different things to win games as well, and sometimes it'll come a little bit easier and it'll click and the goals will flow and you attack well and the game is a lot more in kind of your favour. Other times, like tonight, credit to Everton, it was a bit of a tight game in some ways, and then it was a little bit sticky. It wasn't flowing as much for us, but I think the spirit and the belief and the trust that the lads are gaining between themselves and between all of us, I think, is important. And we kind of spoke about that before the game, really. If sometimes you've got to rely on that, and to have it, don't take it for granted. And they had it tonight. They needed everybody to put in that little bit extra, and that, in the end, that's what we got out of the game.
Hi, Michael. Just on Ben and Matheus, and obviously Brian's involved in the goal, and Senna in goal as well, has played well. Obviously, in the recent past, we've seen that players who come and play for Man United maybe struggle a little bit. You've been in that situation as well, coming to this club, and where the spotlight, maybe the scrutiny is a little bit different. How impressed have you been with those four guys since you've arrived?
Yeah, massively, and I think that's part of it. Sometimes is learning to cope with it. And I've said it recently. I said it when I first came. Sometimes it were easy, and it's maybe rightly so at times, not so on others. Of just expecting players to perform, and sometimes there's a lot more goes into it, and feeling the environment, being comfortable in your surroundings to be able to perform is important, and sometimes it takes a little bit of getting used to, really, and whether you're starting or coming off the bench, and that's part of our job to try and manage that, but yeah, particularly Senna, I thought he was outstanding tonight. I think as a goalkeeper, really, you couldn't expect, you couldn't hope for much more. Safe hands, calm, composed, came and punched when he needed to, and calm things down. I thought it was an exemplary kind of performance. So it's delighted for him.
Michael, just following on from that on Senna, Van der Sar's been on the TV tonight. Obviously, you played with him for a long time. In terms of, I know he's got a long way to go in his career, but in terms of his calmness and that sort of understated manner, everything just looks unfussy with him. Do you see parallels in that specific bit of temperament and personality to Edwin?
Yeah, I've got to be careful what I say.
Yeah, I'm not.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
You know what I mean. Just on that.
I definitely see that similarities, yeah. Without comparing them, I don't want to be comparing them because I don't think it's fair to Senna. But there's definitely similarities. For me, as a goalkeeper, to be reliable, to be trustworthy, and instead of creating the chaos, you want him to take the chaos away and calm things down. I think Senna is that. You know, he's quite quiet at times and unassuming, but he's got a real steeliness and. You know, to step in, it's a big role. You know, for some. And others talking there about coping and just being comfortable in your environment, and sometimes it takes time, sometimes not. But he's how he's gone about it at the moment is that calmness, that composure. I think it does help those in front of him an awful lot.
Just on the signings and Senna in particular, Michael, is he maybe an example of how this club is starting to get recruitment right? Because he's a young goalkeeper, was relatively inexperienced in Belgium, and he's